What grabbed my attention today was this, well, seemingly small event, but it's got some pretty big ripples. A water cannon incident,
Oh, yeah. Between who?
the Taiwan Coast Guard, and a Chinese fishing vessel. Now, I know on the surface, maybe it doesn't sound huge, right?
Depends on the context, I suppose.
Exactly. But when you dig in, this incident in the South China Sea, it's actually a really telling snapshot. It shows these ongoing and honestly critical tensions around the Taiwan Strait.
Ah, okay. I see where you're going.
And especially for those of you deep into your UPSC prep, if you're tracking international relations, security issues, maritime law, this stuff is gold.
Right. Because one small event can reflect much bigger geopolitical trends.
Totally. This single interaction, it has layers of meaning that are, well, pretty crucial for understanding the bigger picture. Our deep dive today is based on a recent piece from the Eurasian Times.
Good source for this region.
Definitely. So our mission here is to unpack those layers, understand what this incident means for Taiwan-China relations, China's whole maritime strategy, regional security.
And give you, the listener, a clear, concise takeaway for your preparation.
Precisely. So let's get into the specifics. The water cannon incident itself.
Okay. Lay it out for us.
This happened May 3rd, near the Dongsha Islands. The Taiwan Coast Guard used water cannons on this Chinese fishing vessel, the Shenyu 1366.
Water cannons, okay. Did they just spray it and send it off?
No, actually. Apparently, the vessel entered Taiwan-controlled waters without permission, specifically inside the Dongsha Atoll National Park.
Ah, protected area.
Right. And it wasn't just a warning. Reports say the Taiwanese Coast Guard actually apprehended the vessel, boarded it using their Taichung and Sunhu No. 9 patrol ships.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
so they took control. What was Taiwan's official reason?
Their Coast Guard was pretty clear. They said the fishing vessel was in a designated no-fishing zone.
Which exists because...
It's part of the Dongsha Atoll National Park, set up to protect the marine ecosystem there. Taiwan established it as their first marine national park, so they seem pretty serious about it.
Right, so it's not just about whose water is this, it's also you're breaking environmental rules.
Yeah.
But that itself becomes a sovereignty statement, doesn't it? Protecting their park.
Exactly. Now, here's where it gets, interesting comparing tactics. The Eurasian Times article points this out.
What's that?
Well, the Chinese Coast Guard is kind of known for using water cannons, right? Especially against Filipino vessels in the South China Sea. It happens a lot.
Oh, absolutely. It's a major flashpoint.
So the article kind of hints at this idea of China getting a taste of its own medicine, so to speak.
That's a provocative way to put it. It certainly flips the usual narrative we hear about in that specific interaction.
Yeah. And what's also noteworthy, according to the report, China hasn't said anything. Complete silence on this specific incident so far.
Interesting. Strategic silence, perhaps? Or maybe just hasn't filtered up yet. Could be anything.
Worth watching. Let's focus on these Dongsha Islands for a second. Where are they and why do they matter so much?
Okay. The Dongsha Islands, sometimes called the Pritus Island, they're in the northern part of the South China Sea. Taiwan controls them.
And strategically.
Their location is key.
Yeah.
Right along major shipping lanes, critical waterway. But as you said, Taiwan also designated the waters around them as that national park.
The Dongsha Atoll National Park.
Right, so it shows Taiwan's conservation efforts in a region often just seen through the lens of resource disputes. The fact that Chinese fishing is viewed as a threat there really highlights this clash, economic activity versus environmental protection.
And it sounds like this wasn't just a one-off. Taiwan's dealing with this constantly.
Oh, yeah. The numbers are pretty stark. Reports suggest that just since January this year, the Taiwan Coast Guard has handled something like 111 incidents involving Chinese fishing boats near Dongsha.
111 since January. Wow.
Yeah. Resulting in 7 smaller vessels being apprehended, like the one we discussed, and another 30 fishing boats just expelled from the area.
That really paints a picture of constant pressure. For our UPSC listeners, that's a key point about managing maritime zones under dispute.
Definitely. It's a persistent challenge.
And the timing of this specific water cannon incident, it happened right after China's own annual fishing ban in the South China Sea started on May 1st.
That is significant, yes.
So what does that suggest? Why would a Chinese fishing vessel be there then?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? The moratorium is supposed to be about sustainable fishing. So finding a vessel in a protected, no-fishing zone during the ban. It certainly raises suspicions about illegal activity.
Right. Makes the Taiwanese action seem less surprising, maybe.
It probably contributed to their heightened vigilance, yeah. they'd be on the lookout.
And it seems Taiwan is stepping up patrols generally.
Yes, they've said as much. The Coast Guard announced deploying more ships, multi-purpose boats, aiming for 24-hour security around Dongsha.
The goal being
Pretty clear.
us. Yeah.
Monitor Chinese ship movements, protect Taiwan's sovereignty claims, and safeguard those marine resources.
This all feels like it connects to a bigger pattern, doesn't it? China's broader maritime activities. The Eurasian Times piece mentions this concept of a maritime militia. Can we unpack that?
Absolutely. This is a crucial concept for understanding the region. What many observers believe is that a significant portion of China's massive fishing fleet isn't just commercial. It's often called the People's Armed Forces Maritime Militia, the PAFMM. These vessels, while looking like ordinary fishing boats, are widely thought to operate, at least sometimes, under government direction.
To do what exactly?
To assert China's presence and sovereignty claims in disputed waters. Like the East China Sea, and especially the South China Sea, we see reports of them intruding near Japan, the Philippines.
So they're like a quasi-naval force.
Kind of. It blurs the lines. It allows China to push its claims without necessarily using gray-hulled warships, operating in that gray zone below the threshold of armed conflict.
That makes sense. A way to be assertive without being overtly military.
Precisely. And the scale is immense. China's fishing fleet accounts for, maybe 20% of the world's total catch? This huge state-linked fleet has massive implications: resource depletion, environmental damage, and of course geopolitics.
And all this is happening while military tensions in the Taiwan Strait itself seem to be climbing.
Yes, you absolutely have to see this maritime activity in that broader context, especially through UPSC prep. Connecting these dots is vital. Tensions are high.
How so? What are we seeing?
Well, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense regularly reports PLA aircraft and naval vessels operating near the island. There's been a noticeable uptick recently.
And military drills too, right?
Yes. The PLA has conducted several large-scale exercises off Taiwan's coasts, often framed as warnings against separatism, but Taiwan sees them as rehearsals.
Rehearsals for what? The article mentioned drills like Joint Sword 2024A practicing blockades.
Exactly. Exercises are simulating scenarios like blockading the island, cutting off trade, supplies, and even practicing amphibious assaults. That's obviously extremely concerning for Taipei.
And there's actual speculation about invasion timelines. Things like barges being spotted.
There is. The appearance of Chinese barges suitable for landings has fueled that speculation. Some analysts talk about windows like 2027, though that's highly debated, of course. But the perception of risk is growing.
Is the U.S. military seeing the same thing? Are they worried?
Very much so. The U.S. Indo-PACOM commander, Admiral Samuel Papero, has publicly flagged concerns. He pointed to how quickly China is diversifying its military exercises, making them more complex.
And their military buildup in general.
Yeah, he highlighted the sheer pace. China's shipbuilding, for example, warships, submarines, is apparently outpacing the U.S. now in terms of numbers produced. While the U.S. still holds technological edges, the gap in capacity is narrowing. That worries Washington.
So with all this buildup in tension, what's stopping things from boiling over right now? What are the deterrents?
Admiral Papero mentioned a few key factors. Beijing likely weighs heavily. First, the actual readiness of the PLA. Are they truly prepared for such a complex operation?
Okay, what else?
Second, Beijing's own assessment of Taiwan's defenses. How capable are they, really?
Yeah.
And third, perhaps the biggest unknown.
Foreign intervention.
Exactly. The likelihood, the scale, the speed of any potential foreign aid or intervention supporting Taiwan. That's a massive calculation for Beijing.
And Taiwan isn't just sitting idly by, right? They're trying to boost their own defenses.
Oh, definitely. They're actively modernizing their military. That includes significant arms purchases from the U.S., things like F-16 jets, Patriot air defense systems, HIMARS rocket systems.
And their own training.
Yes, even their big annual exercises, like the Hongquan drills, are reportedly shifting, becoming less scripted, more focused on realistic scenarios, specifically practicing how to counter a PLA blockade or an amphibious landing.
So bringing this all back, that water cannon incident near Dongsha, it really wasn't just about a fishing boat.
Not at all. It's like a microcosm, you know?
Yeah.
It touches on sovereignty fights, environmental issues clashing with economic ones, China's assertive maritime tactics, this whole maritime militia concept.
And it all sits under the shadow of the increasing military pressure on Taiwan itself.
Precisely. All these layers are interconnected. Understanding that is key for anyone analyzing the region, especially UPSC aspirants.
Yeah, absolutely. So for all of you listening, especially if you're prepping for those exams, you can see how this single event connects to so much international relations, India's own strategic environment nearby, maritime security, great power
It
competition.
really does.
It's definitely worth digging deeper into the South China Sea disputes overall, Taiwan's strategic position, and China's ongoing military modernization.
And maybe it leaves us with a question to chew on, something for you, the listener, to think about.
Go ahead.
How might these seemingly smaller incidents, a water cannon here, an air intrusion there, how might they add up? Could they shift the bigger power dynamics, or even contribute step by step toward the potential conflict in the Indo-Pacific?
That's a heavy question. Definitely something to consider.
It has huge implications, right, for the whole region and maybe the world.
Absolutely. Well, if you found this deep dive helpful, particularly for your UPSC studies, please do give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to drop any questions in the comments.
We appreciate the engagement.
And just a reminder, our analysis today was grounded in that recent article from the Eurasian Times. Worth checking out their work for more details.